And so it is now over. Season 11 of Hot Ones is in the books. For better or for worse. I mean, yes, with everything going on, of course, I'm sure the good people over at First We Feast had some sort of big plans to end season 11. But with everything going on, it just wasn't possible. But that is in no way, shape, or form saying that this season ended on a whimper. No. In fact, I dare say, in spite of all the circumstances, the fact that I do social distancing and quarantine and all that stuff that, gotta wash your hands all the time, do everything you can to try and remain healthy. This was a good episode to end this was a good episode to end the season on. So, definitely a lot more than a whimper, but maybe not quite up to a bang. Either way, I'm really glad I got to watch it. I really do. Well, first things first, good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Happy Good Friday. I'll get into that momentarily. So, yeah. Yesterday's episode of Hot Ones was actually, relatively informative. I mean, like any other guest I've ever seen on Hot Ones, I did learn some pretty neat stuff about Justin Timberlake. Excuse me. It's allergies, don't worry. Among the stuff I learned how, because foremost, he was on Hot Ones to promote Trolls World Tour, which is a movie that's going to be out in, well, it was supposed to be out in theaters, but now it's going to be the first animated kids movie, I do believe, to be streamed on, in people's homes and whatever. So, one of the main questions, the first question Sean asked him, how do you write a song that is clearly meant to be advertising for the movie, but also could literally be taken away from that soundtrack and stand perfectly on its own? You know the songs I'm thinking of. Well, an example of this would most likely, a loose example of this would easily be Let It Go from Frozen. But in this instance, it was easily because of, in the first Trolls movie, I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric, baby, when it turns me on. Yeah, that song. Like, that song was meant to promote the first Trolls movie, but it was just so incredibly popular. Like, you heard on the radio all the time, and by all accounts, it really is a good song. I mean, I never saw the first Trolls movie. I'll get into that momentarily. But, I saw the advertising for it. I mean, again, it really wasn't my thing. Some other things Justin Timberlake talked about. Well, for one thing, he definitely talked about, how he hung out with J.J. Watt in the court side of the basketball game and explained that grand. That was really cool. He actually, for the last dab, this is quite interesting, he actually ranked all of his albums from, I don't know, it's weird because they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I don't know if 5 is supposed to be the best or if 1 is supposed to be the best. It's really hard to tell. I mean, honestly, if you're going to do any kind of ranking system, have number 1 be the best. You want escalation. That way everything else doesn't seem like it's a total letdown, potentially. Even if you're doing, like, the top X number of things that, are considered to be the worst, if you at least have, if you have the worst at number 1 in that regard, like, you're really letting people know that is the absolute worst, you know what I mean? Like, seriously. No, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have all the respect in the world for the good people over at First We Feast, but seriously, if you're going to do any kind of ranking system, rank things up to number 1, please. We want that escalation. It's honestly no different than when you do Hot Ones itself. I mean, you keep on going up to the highest sauce, so, yeah, just beyond that. Oh, Hopefully they'll know for next season. And next season probably won't be for a very long time from now. Oh boy, I really hope things clear up soon. Or maybe they'll make season 12 longer because of it. Because of everything going on. That'd be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind that at all. So in terms of trolls, you know what? It's actually funny because again, I never saw the first Trolls movie, but I did watch Brad Jones, aka the Cinema Stop. Shout out to Brad Jones, by the way. Love that guy. And when he first did the midnight screenings, I mean, pretty obvious. It's a kid's movie, but with all the colors and everything, that movie is meant to be watched if you're on drugs. It really, really is. Now, I have no intention of ever doing drugs. Ever. So, it's likely I'm probably never supposed to be watching the first Trolls movie to begin with. Which may very well be good for me. At the time, that's what I learned. But, believe it or not, Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, again, shout out to the Nostalgia Critic, he's the man. Yeah, he's awesome. Anyway, he actually did a Nostalgia Critic review on the first Trolls movie. And basically, to sum up what his general thoughts were, for one thing, well, it's a kid's movie. And that's really the best way to describe it as, because it is easily meant to be like one of those movies that is meant to, distract your kids for, an hour and a half roughly, maybe 2 hours. But at the same time, like, if you're an adult watching it, the jokes in that movie, are not insufferable. Like, there were some times that Doug Walker legitimately got a good laugh out of what he saw in the movie. I mean, I'll put a link to the description of that episode down below. But to put things up, but a Cliff Note version of it is, any movie that involves Russell Brand dying is good. Branch is very relatable to a lot of regards. The third act is a little bit on the weak side. I mean, you can't have what you have in the first two acts and then immediately talk about Branch's grandma in the third act. That is emotional whiplash. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of other stuff they made fun of, but again, I'll put a link into the description down below. But in the end, it's okay, I guess. That's the best way I could describe it. I mean, if you're a kid, you're going to like it. But if you're a kid who grew up watching it, and then you watch it again as you're an adult, you're probably going to think, there was definitely something in my children's cereal when I was growing up. Yeah, so, I mean, let's be honest, if I'm looking to watch a Dreamworks movie, it's going to be either Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon. And the first two Shrek movies. And The Prince of Egypt. And Ants. It's pretty good. The Road to El Dorado is pretty solid. I like that one. What else? All right, the Madagascar movies are pretty funny. I like those. I really haven't meaning to talk about my thoughts on at least the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, because that's easily the one I've seen the most of, like, all of DreamWorks movies, which, for good reason, because the Kung Fu Panda movies are nothing short of awesome. Seriously, like, I'll never forget when I showed... No, a real surprise when it comes to the Kung Fu... And if I ever talk about the Kung Fu Panda movies in detail, I'll get into more of this. But a person who really likes the Kung Fu Panda movies, my brother. Seriously, like, we're like on the we're on an airplane one time, and I just had the movie with me, watch on the plane, or whatever. And the fight scene where after the montage between Poe and Shifu, and they're doing like the whole find the dumpling underneath the shells, and he's like moving around. Like Poe picks the right one, he's like, woo! And that got a huge laugh out of my brother. That was great. Seriously, if you ever want to like smile and feel good, watch the Kung Fu Panda movies. Like those and pretty much all of the Dreamworks movies that I mentioned here are all pretty solid. I would recommend them. So, there we go. Last night was pretty uneventful for me. Some folks last night, got to hang out with them for a little bit. Although, one thing that we've been watching together as a family, and you're gonna find this both funny and disturbing. I turned my folks on the dog. Well, my mother was already sort of interested in the show, but my father, I really turned on to it. We all really like watching Dr. Pimple Popper. It's awesome. Like I just like got home and just started like watching Dr. Pimple Popper. It was awesome. Let's be honest, they're showing nothing but reruns, but it's still really fun to watch. Although, that does remind me, I came up with a really great idea if, like, you want to do the whole, like, if you're a fan of Dr. Pimple Popper, but obviously don't have any of those skin-related ailments that they show on Dr. Pimple Popper, here's what you do. Believe it or not, it's very simple. Roast a head of garlic. I'm not even kidding. Like, roast that, like, cut the top off of garlic and put it in the oven, with, like, oil and like, covered in aluminum foil or whatever. Put it in, like a 350-degree oven for, like, an hour or something. And when it's done, just, like, squeeze the bulb from the bottom. It looks exactly like what you see on a Dr. Pimple Popper. It's awesome. Like, sit there. I just gave you a Dr. Pimple Popper fix, and you don't even need, like, any of those skin-related problems to have it. You're welcome. So, yeah. There you go. In terms of dinner, my mom made, a meatloaf, buttered noodles, and asparagus. I love me some asparagus. Yeah. Actually, I should talk about my mom's meatloaf in the Mom Food Chronicles once, but believe it or not, and this is actually something I was really going to say for a long time, but I'll sort of warm up your curiosity for tomorrow. See, I have lots and lots and lots of Mom Food Chronicles related stories to talk about. I really do. And believe me, I will be getting each and every one of them when I feel like it. I can't just do them all at once. It would get boring. Plus, it's like when I did the full course menu and stuff. You gotta space it out. With that being said, even though, I like to believe that my palate is far evolved and I can eat practically anything, believe it or not, there is actually, in fact, one thing that my mother made growing up that even now I won't eat until tonight. So be sure to be on the lookout for tomorrow's video. So, yeah, that should build up some hype. Like, what kind of food is it? A food that Nick won't eat? This is quite fascinating. I must know this. Don't worry, you're going to hear all about it. Could I perhaps give you a hint, Berman? I suppose I could give you a hint. I don't think you'd be able to get it even if I told you. But, believe it or not, this is actually a relatively popular item you would find at a place like Panera. believe it or not. Only one type of dairy product is used for another. That is of similar quality, perhaps, but of different flavor and texture, as well as scent. Don't worry. I'll talk all about it tomorrow. All I can say is, again, even now, this is the one thing I wouldn't eat. Until, I think it's about time I gave it a second chance. I owe it to myself to try that. I mean, I've given lots of things second chances, so why not this? Like, favorite, share, hit the subscribe button, follow me on social media platforms, share those videos on YouTube. I am very humbled to make this video for all of you guys who watch and enjoy today. And hopefully you have a wonderful, wonderful Good Friday. Happy Good Friday, everybody. Oh, darn. For those of you who don't know, this is the last Friday in Lent. It's called Good Friday because this was the day that Jesus Christ had, died. So it's actually supposed to be a pretty solemn day, all things considered. But this is the last time I won't be able to have meat on Fridays. And, Lent's almost over, so I still hope you all have a wonderful Good Friday today. And remember, you guys want to talk to channel is going to be here to London. Always have your back. Take care. Make good choices. Goodbye.